Hi guys! Happy Tuesday and happy birthday to our dear friend Kingsley. So today is Kingsley's birthday, which we are celebrating with our YouTube group time. And you guys know that means this wonderful song. So I'm going to play Kingsley's birthday song. And in the meantime, I'm going to draw our dear friend Kingsley. So setting up my board. And here we go.
Birthday.com.
As you guys know, I always have to play the video twice because I'm not an expert artist. So here we go, second time. Hopefully by the time it's done, I'll be done. Here we go. Plus I know you love these songs.
Birthday.com.
Okay, I promise you I am almost finished. Today is also Tuesday, which means there is a group Zoom at 10:30 and a journal. So be on the lookout for the journal prompt and be ready to meet and greet each other at 10:30 for a group Zoom. I'm just putting the finishing touches on our dear friend Kingsley, who hopefully has eaten cake for breakfast, if she likes cake. I personally am not a cake for breakfast sort of person. I'm not a sweets kind of person, but hopefully she's had whatever will make her happy on this special day. Happy birthday, Kingsley. Now, I don't want to embarrass Kingsley too much, but one of my fondest memories of Kingsley is we did a what do you want to be when you grow up sort of thing. The last year I was at the children's place before I left for Wisconsin, and Kingsley wanted to be a fairy when she grew up. So now I believe she wants to be a dancer. and I'm sure some other wonderful thing. But yes, a dancer is actually quite close to, a dancer is the real life version of a fairy, almost, in my opinion. So there we have it, Kingsley doing her beautiful dancing. If you haven't had the chance to see Kingsley dance, she's phenomenal, and her smile lights up a room. So happy birthday, Kingsley. And we're going to read a story today. It is called Angelina and Alice. I'll get a little closer so you guys can see the pictures. You might not see my face for a little while, and that is okay, because the story is more important. Angelina jumped for joy the day Alice came to school. Alice loved to dance and do gymnastics, and she was good at all the same things as Angelina. They quickly became close friends and were always together. At breaks, they skipped rope and did cartwheels round and round the playground. So we are introducing our main characters, right? Angelina and Alice. They loved to see who could hang upside down longest on the trapeze bar without wiggling, swing highest on the swings, or do the most somersaults in the air. Angelina was good at cartwheels and could even do the splits, but Alice could do a perfect handstand with her toes pointed straight in the air and never lose her balance. Angelina always fell over when she tried to do a handstand, which was embarrassing, especially on the playground. So, as you all know, most stories follow a sort of arc where they start out, they reach a high point, and then they sort of resolve. In this part is exposition. That's the fancy word for the beginning, right? Where they're sort of introducing the characters, who are Angelina and Alice. Then they call this part that's going up the rising action. So the characters are kind of doing things together. Now we already know in the story they like to do flippy things. And the rising action, it also gives you a hint of like what the problem's going to be. So you might already be catching on to the fact that Angelina has trouble with her handstands. So in the rising action, they're sort of introducing the conflict. And remember, sometimes conflicts are inside, right? It's a problem that's going on inside the person. In this case, we might think that Angelina's handstands might become a bigger problem. Let's see. One day, Angelina fell right on her bottom, and the older children pointed at her and laughed. One of them giggled and said, "Look at Angelina Tumbelina." Another whispered to Alice. And then something awful happened. Alice giggled too and ran off to play with the older children while Angelina sat behind the swings and cried. So there's our main problem in the story. The next day was worse. They were all saying Angelina Tumbelina on the playground, and Angelina couldn't find Alice anywhere. Angelina couldn't concentrate at school and made lots of mistakes in her spelling. She couldn't eat her sandwiches at lunch either. And by the time the class was lining up for gym, Angelina felt so sick, she wished she could go home. So you know, sometimes if you're arguing with a friend or you're having kind of a bad day at school, it's not just the one bad thing, right? It makes everything bad, and that's sort of what's going on with Angelina. Alice has sort of ditched her, right, for some other people, and she's feeling icky, and it's making everything icky. Mr. Hopper, the gym teacher, blew his whistle for silence and said, "You've all worked so hard at your gymnastics over the year that we're going to do a show for the village festival. Everyone needs to find a partner and start practicing now." Angelina looked at the floor. Who could she ask? She was afraid nobody would be her partner. A big tear rolled down her nose. So, we're getting up to that peak, you guys, because we don't really know what's going to happen. We're a little worried about Angelina. Who is going to be her partner? What's going to happen? Then she felt a tap on her shoulder. It was Alice. "Will you be my partner, please?" Alice asked. All that afternoon, Angelina and Alice worked on the handstands in the gymnasium. "Just keep your head down and line up your tail with the tip of your nose," Alice said patiently. "That always helps me to stay up straight longer." Alice was a good teacher, and soon Angelina could do a handstand without falling at all. Mr. Hopper taught them how to swing in a beautiful circle over the bar and how to actually fly through the air and land neatly balanced on the mat. He taught them to work with the rings and on the balance beam, and to do rhythmic gymnastics with colored ribbons. Finally, Mr. Hopper showed them a terrific balancing trick they could do for the show. The day of the village festival was bright and beautiful. There's some alliteration, bright and beautiful. The gymnastics class did a wonderful display at the village festival with high jumps, backflips, and balancing on the beam. When Angelina and Alice did their balancing act together, even the older children were impressed. "Wow," they said, "how did you learn to do those amazing tricks?" After the show, Mr. Hopper smiled and said, "That was really good teamwork." Alice and Angelina grinned back. "That's because we're such good friends," they said together. That is the end. So, in the story, this is the rising action, right? Where we're seeing the two friends, Angelina and Alice, and everything they can do together. And then the conflict is that Angelina's fallen and Alice sort of laughs at her too and goes with the other people. Right? And then Angelina feels bad. She wants to go home. She's not doing well on her spelling. She doesn't want to eat. And then the climax, which is the point of highest interest, is when who is going to be Alice's partner, or Angelina's partner, excuse me. And until we get to that page, we might not really know. So that's the point of highest interest. Who's going to be Angelina's partner? Then we know that it's going to be Alice, right? And then we call this the falling action. So the falling action is kind of what happens after the climax. So the falling action, oops, I wrote falling happen because happen was in my brain. The falling action is them practicing together, right? For that play. Or not for the play, for the gymnastics show. So they practice together. And the resolution, which is like sort of how the conflict is resolved. So the resolution has to match the conflict, right? So the main conflict wasn't that, initially I had said maybe it was that Angelina couldn't do a handstand right. That wasn't really the conflict. It led to it, right? But the conflict was between Angelina and Alice. So the conflict and the resolution should match. So the resolution, so Angelina and Alice essentially sort of had a fight, right? So the resolution is that they worked together and had a great show. Now, this story happens to follow that pattern. Lots of books, chapter books you will read throughout your life later will follow this same sort of pattern. Not every picture book, so this is what's called a picture book, like a storybook, what we read at group times. Not every storybook follows this pattern, but books you will read later all often follow this pattern to some degree. So that is the story of Angelina and Alice, and I wish you all a wonderful day. Oh, don't forget to check the weather. I think it did give you something interesting this week. So It was a little rainy. I'm not sure what time you decided to go out and check what was going to be your time, but remember, you were going to make a key and then maybe go outside and sort of guess what the temperature was. Precipitation is what's falling from the sky. In our case, it's usually rain. So don't forget to check the weather. I will tell you actually, so as you know, my video was sunny and windy, which means I did not do it Monday morning. So I had guessed the temperature to be 70, and I had noted that it was windy, and actually, you guys, and I am not necessarily always on par with these things, but when I checked my phone for the weather, it did say 70, and it even had that little twirly wind emoji thing, which is like something like this, indicating that there was wind. So I was actually right on track with that one. So we'll see. And the goal, like I said, you do not have to get it perfect, but just to have an idea of sort of what's going on around you is the point, and to be outside. Okay, have a good day.